and welcome to Petrolheads London and to this week's 5 at 5. I've not watched this before. It's 5 minutes at 5 p.m. every Wednesday. My name is Tom and this is my channel Petrolheads London, where I talk to you about, well, what this channel is about really. Cars, bikes, some of the news going on in that arena, and maybe a little bit about some of my videos that are up and coming. So if you've not watched one of these before, what you'll know is there are two things I ask you to do. Firstly, get in the comments. I want to hear your questions and I will try and answer those in next week's video. So I've got some of that coming up in this week's one. Also, if you are the first to comment, you will get a shout out in next week's video. In this case, again, it is Malcolm. So well done, mate. I think that's fourth week in a row now. So guys, get in there, see if you can beat him to the comments. It would be good to get some competition going on that. So without further ado, let's get on with some of the topics in today's 5 at 5. So the first one for me is actually some bike news. So there seems to be a few new bikes coming out at the moment. And the most interesting one for me is the new GS. So it's actually a GS1250. So slightly different configuration. Looks like, from what I've read, quite early days. It's only been released a couple of days ago. There was some stuff sort of released on social media a little bit early, but it looks like a totally new engine, which is interesting because although I loved the GS, it did have, well, a few problems. The new bike's looking quite good. I've only looked at some sort of early snaps of that, so if I can get some more, I will try and start putting those up on social media. The next thing to talk about is, well, I suppose some slightly negative news. So being a Jaguar F-Type owner, if you've not watched that before, go check out my videos even on my Jaguar F-Type. Jaguar this week announced that they're going to 3 days a week. I'm wondering what that will do for Jaguar sales, who've had, I think, a pretty good year, but even if you look at their numbers compared to other car manufacturers, it is tiny. But what will that do for the value, especially cars like F-Types? Interestingly, one of my observations is there seems to be a bit of a flooding of cars like F-Type, so I wonder whether cutting back production, although not a good thing for the economy, might be a good thing for us F-Type owners and for our residual values. Talking of which, I have been looking around at the value of mine and it's sort of fluctuating a little bit, and it is still in my mind that potentially to sell that, and I'm starting to draw up a short list of, if I were to, what would I get instead. So watch this space for some videos to come on that. The next thing is more car manufacturing news on a more positive note. So a marque which I absolutely adore and have done since I was very, very small, yes, shorter than I am now, is Aston Martin. But over the last couple of years, they have really, under the guidance of Andy Palmer, made a dramatic change in what that manufacturer is doing. And they are coming out with some awesome, awesome design and some awesome performing cars. I mean, even the previous ones I love, but I think some of the current vehicles are amazing. What they have announced is that they are in 2019 making a Rapid E, is going to be a fully electric car. I think it's limited to about 155 from recollection in terms of run rate and quantities, but it looks pretty good and is in line with some of the cars in which they are currently putting out in production in terms of just that gorgeous, gorgeous design. So really, really keen to see what they do on that. On top of that, what they've also said is they are starting a kind of a centre of excellence for electric vehicles, and that is going to be based in their Wales plant. Maybe slightly controversial, seeing the home of it is Gaydon in Oxford/Nottinghamshire, but they have made that decision. But I think it's also really interesting for a marque like that to actually say that they understand that there is a real driver for the market in the electric vehicles, and people are saying this could be a Tesla beater. So, you know, you pay 100 grand for a Tesla, you get a pretty nice Aston Martin for that kind of money. So finally, a question that was asked of me on last week's was about the F1 driver changes. Look, there is so much going on there, and I don't know what you guys think, but it feels to me like this year there's been more movement and more turmoil in the different turmoil in the different F1 camps than there has ever been. What do you guys think? But for me, one of the most interesting moves, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's confirmed now that Leclerc is going to Ferrari. I read that he was doing some testing with the Pirelli tyres at, I think, Paul Ricard in the next couple of weeks. So that is a really interesting move. I mentioned him in one of my videos before. He is a real driver to watch. And I think also there's been a lot of commentary around Hamilton, who had an amazing race last week and basically beat Vettel because he didn't make mistakes. But I think a lot of the commentary has been saying how actually just proves why he's a better driver. He doesn't make those mistakes. And, you know, I think he gets a lot of flack, but I am a Hamilton fan and I'm a convert. I wasn't always, but I actually think he's a pretty damn good driver, if not one of the best we've seen in a long time. Anyway, look, I'm over my time. That's my 5 minutes. I've been Tom. This has been this week's 5 at 5 on Petrolheads London. Comments below. I will reply to them in next week's video. Be the first to comment. Remember to try and beat Malcolm. Good luck, guys. Cheers.